Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose?
I did.
I'm pressing record just in case you say something profound and I...
Profound. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, so welcome to this amazing possibility for talking to Mr. Gary Douglas and also Mr. Christopher Hughes. So thank you both for being here.
How do I get that thing off so I can actually see your face? There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like being able to see your face. I don't like having to look at, a thing on top of you.
I love it. So here I am. So welcome both Gary and Chris. So what we wanted to talk today is about antiques, etc. And I'd like to sort of go a little bit back to Gary. Can you tell us, like, when was the first time that you actually started discovering antiques, knew that you had a capacity with it? Like, where were you? What was going on?
I was about 8 years old and I went to my aunt's house who lived in Santa Barbara, which eventually I lived in Santa Barbara. And, and she had beautiful things in her house. She had, recordings of opera. I listened to it and I went, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And, it's like we ate off of real china, not Melmac. Now Melmac is considered mid-century modern stuff, and I think it's still ugly. And we drank out of aluminum glasses that were colored different colors because it was so beautiful and it would keep the cold of the milk there. And it's like, she drank out of crystal. She drank out of teacups. She had these spoons that had different things on them to stir your tea with or your coffee with or whatever. I mean, it's like she just lived elegantly. We lived medium class.
So what do you remember, like, at that, like, did you, what choices did you make, or did you be like, I'll have that? Like, what was coming up?
I just went, okay, you know what? This is the way I'd like to live, with beautiful things around me and beautiful stuff. She had beautiful furniture, and it's like, I went, this is the way I want to live. I don't want to live like this. It's like we had great furniture done with polyester loop material that would catch on things and pull.
Right.
And then you have to go through and trim it so that it looked like it wasn't pulled. And it never looked quite right.
And so were you empowered very much to have that around you, or was that something that you had to keep seeking yourself?
I had to keep seeking it myself. My mother didn't see any reason. She didn't think my aunt lived beautifully or wonderfully. She thought she was just a little strange. She was a little strange, but I didn't find that out until much later.
And Christopher, what about you? What was your first introduction to antiques?
I guess somewhat similar. I grew up less than middle class, and
you grew up in poverty, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And I always saw on movies or in the one or two little antique shops where I grew up, these beautiful things, and it was just how I wanted to live. I knew straight away. I was like, that.
So again, were you empowered, or was that something that, like, what was the next step for you seeking that and having that in your life?
No, what's the opposite of empowered? I was
ridiculed, destroyed, spanked, vilify,
Yes,
made nothing of.
I was always told, why aren't you satisfied with what we have?
Hmm.
And
It's like,
more than that, I was told, we don't have enough. Why are you trying to give it away?
Oh, that sounds like Mr. Gary Douglas as well. I think he was told that he would never have money because he always gives it away. His generosity of spirit. And
yes,
both
I would, you always give everything to your friends. Because I take my friends out, they couldn't afford to have a malt or piece of pie. So I'd buy it for them because I had my allowance. And at that time, it didn't cost anything. But my mother just thought that was just crazy. And you will never have money, Gary. As long as you live, you'll never have money. I hate to say, Mom, but you're wrong. I do have money.
And do you remember the first antique that you ever purchased, Gary?
Yes, I did. I went out with this lady that I had met when I was training horses, and she lived, on right near the property where the horse barn was. And she had horses there at the place. And she would invite me to her house, and the house was just filled. Every table was filled with beautiful antiques. And she would let my dog come in. I had a Great Dane whose tail was exactly the right height for clearing a coffee table. So I would come in and I'd go, sit down, control your tail, stop wagging, stop wagging, stop wagging. And the poor dude would come in and he'd move around between not wagging, wanting so badly to wag his tail for people to show him how much he liked him. But if he did, he would have cleared, thousands of dollars worth of Tiffany glass off of a table. The lady just had it everywhere. And I was telling her how beautiful things were. She says, "Oh, well, pick something, you can have it." I went, how about that? It was the littlest thing I could see. And it was part of a shop, where they put their initials into something. And it was a pair of identical things. She said, "Perfect. You can have one, I'll have one, and we'll be together forever." And I took it home.
Where is it now?
I lost it.
I love that.
But I didn't lose it until after she died. I didn't lose it while she was still alive. So at least I was good in that regard.
Christopher, do you remember the first antique that you ever received?
The first thing I ever bought was actually from Mr. Gary Douglas. And so I've been doing these jewelry shows at Access Consciousness classes and events, and Gary will bring stock and give it to me to price it up and sell. The very, very first time I ever did that with him, he had these little silver salt dishes and a little silver Tiffany bowl. And I saw those and I went, oh, I love those. And I was scraping pennies together to get to this class, let alone be in the position to actually buy these. And Gary said to me, "You can buy it. Wait and see if you make any money from the jewelry show that we do, and you can buy it for whatever I paid for it." And I still have that little bowl, and I still have those little salt dishes. And I love them so much. And in fact, I use them all the time.
That's the way you get into antiques. That's the way you get into enjoying the things you have. It's like when somebody just makes a gift to you of something like that, you just go, "Oh my God, this is so wonderful." And it's like, and you appreciate it more for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, the first thing that I ever received that I can remember is it was a gift from you, Gary and Dane, and we were in Perth in Western Australia, and we were doing a money class. You were doing a money class, and I was actually doing the recording at that stage, so it's a long time ago. And I used to wear fashion jewelry all the time, like big colorful fashion jewelry, and I thought that was it, worth nothing as soon as you buy it. And you guys bought me this smoky topaz 18 karat antique ring. And I remember looking down at this ring and I had it on and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, that's what it's like to actually have money. And the whole class, I kept looking at this ring because it was such a different energy to receive. Like I could look fabulous in fashion jewelry, but this had this this elegance and this sense of peace and joy about it that I hadn't shown myself. I hadn't received that before.
Called wealth.
Yeah, that's it. It's called wealth. I love that.
Yeah.
So, okay, next question is, what's the most unique thing you think you've ever purchased or received, Gary?
I don't have a good answer. I think the most unique one was the one that I got that was a token from a brothel where you could get, you could have an inside or an outside trick. And, on one side it was one and on the other side it was the other.
Uh-huh. And have you still got that, or did you use it?
I still got that. Yeah. I kept that. I thought that was just so unique and so fabulous.
I like that. Yeah, that is unique. Chris, what
Yeah.
about you?
It's hard to say exactly, but like,
Sorry, I didn't give you these questions are just coming out, so I didn't give you a fair warning.
no, I know, but see, one of the joys of collecting and constantly adding to your collection and your wealth like this is the latest and greatest thing that you receive is quite often the most bizarre and the most wonderful and the most enthralling. So like for
temporarily.
Yes, for Christmas, my friend Grace Douglas sent me a gift from New York, and she said, "Oh, it's just this funny little thing that I found. It's nothing." And when the box arrived, it said on the outside, "Personal photo in frame." And I went, "Oh, that must be like a picture of her and I. That would be great." I thought, what a nice Christmas gift. And I opened it, and it's a Polaroid picture by Andy Warhol of a naked man with a rather large member.
Mm-hmm.
So she sent me a dick pic. By
Everybody sends you dick pics, but not by Andy Warhol.
And that was, yeah.
I love it.
Mm.
That's awesome. One of the things that I have that I actually got from the Antique Guild, so it would have been, purchased by you, Gary, as well, is the Prohibition Table. To me, it's like, I love it. It's like, I've had it for
I love that thing.
But when you press the middle and it pops up and it's got all the room for the glasses and everything, I love the naughtiness of it. Like the fact that you could get away with something and then just whoop, and put it back down. It's like, they really should make stuff like that again, like the Prohibition stuff.
Yes, but it's like they're going to have to do that for COVID. You're going to have special COVID tables.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can hide it. And I've got it in my lounge room now, and I actually have a plant that sits on top of it, so nobody knows that it's this Prohibition table. So I love it when you just whoop, and it's like, and there's the little glasses and everything. It's wonderful. I love it.
There's the alcohol and it's the whole bit.
Yeah,
I love that table. I thought that was one of the most beautiful tables ever. I think I bought one for myself at one time, and it's like, but it didn't really work in my house. And I went, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to be a prohibitionist.
I think I was.
Maybe I'm supposed to be an exhibitionist.
Maybe you are supposed to be an exhibitionist. So can you guys both talk about, in whatever, it's how do you see like what can you talk about, like what antiques add to your life? Like, what does it add to your life? What have you seen it adds to your life?
Well, it's like, see, here's my bed, okay?
Yes.
The top of my bed. That's what I look at every night and every day. I feel sad for me. I don't understand how my life got so terrible. No, but it's like, it's like what they do is they add a sense of the elegance of life and living, because they were made, and good point. Thank God.
I was about to ask you.
Thank God Brett is here to, correct me. It's like, I am not good at this stuff. So, it's like, it's just very interesting to see how they contribute to your life and what they add to your life and how they make you feel greater as a result. And I always feel, it's like, and I started collecting them because I wasn't good at saving money, and my ex-wife was good at only spending it. And so she would go out and spend her money on clothes. She'd spend $800 on a blouse and go, I got such a deal on this. was only $800. Then a year later, she'd sell it for $2 at a garage sale. So what did that have to do with increasing anything? She felt good about herself when she wore it twice, and that was it. She was done. And it's like, I don't understand people who buy clothes, and I still buy clothes and I like clothes, but I don't see them as a sense of wealth. I see them as a sense of the color you add to other people's life by what you wear.
Yeah, and you guys both have really taught me. I'm sitting in my office now. Obviously, you can see the background here, but I am surrounded by some beautiful tables and paintings and antiques, etc. And the yes, the wealth, the energy that you mentioned before, but there's also this sense of like acknowledging the gift that I be by having this around as well. Like there's this constant contribution that I notice.
Well, it's like if you surround yourself with things that contribute to you, it's like what it does is it creates a sense of peace in your world that by they're contributing to you, you contribute to them. Now, I never say that I own antiques. I say I have these antiques that own me. Why? Because I pay to get them polished. They don't pay to polish me.
True.
They don't polish me at all, ever. Damn it. But I would like it if they could contribute more to me. But it's like when I feel, and I try to buy things at a reasonable price so that if I had to sell them, I could make money on them. And when I'm feeling poor, I go through my house and okay, if I sold that at half what I paid for it, and that and that and that and that and that, how much would I be able to make? And if I've gone through 10 or 12 items and I'm up to $100,000, I figure I'm fine. And I like being up to $100,000. What?
So it has intrinsic value, which is something that you really taught me as well. It's like if you purchase something that has intrinsic value, which basically means that you can either sell it, if you sold it tomorrow, you'd get the same amount of money or more.
Or more.
Like it's going to increase in value. So and it's way more fun buying things that have intrinsic value.
Yes. And it's like when things have intrinsic value, you begin to see your intrinsic value, which is the thing most important to me.
That's what I was trying to explain, because it creates something like when you drink out of, a glass that, I've got these like beautiful hand blown glasses from Venice, and they cost me like €600 each. I remember, Chris, when you and your husband were up at my house one day and we were drinking out of them. And then Drew just looked at me and he went, Simone, and gave me the glass back and he went, it's time to get me a different glass. I've had too much. I no longer want to hold this glass in my hand. But it's like, but the elegance.
I don't want to be responsible for this.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll get you a cheaper glass, which was still a crystal glass, but it's like, but it wasn't the, hand blown glass from Venice, that's hand painted and all that sort of stuff. So, but it creates something in your body that is such a contribution.
Yes, truly. It just creates a sense in your body that you must have wealth. You must have wealth and you must have value if you have things that are of wealth and of value. And it's like a whole lot of people have things and they don't value them at all. I see people with beautiful stuff and they just don't take care of it. Like silver. I love silver polished, but not over polished. Okay. My maids, I have to like yell at them all the time because they're always trying to make everything totally shiny, no black on it at all. And I go, I like the black in the edges so that the design shows up better. And I tell them this 800 times, and maybe by the 900th time, they realize they don't have to do it as bad. They still do it too much, but they don't do it as bad.
I love having silver in my life too. And Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about the having silver in your life? Because you've got some great stories about that too. It's like the history.
Oh, I have so much silver. It's the thing, like I told you, it was the thing that I bought first and that I really love. There's something about it that my body just goes, yes, that. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. Silver has incredible properties that benefit your immune system if you drink and eat from silver. Yeah. It is healing and affects your immune system and helps you to fight off disease and be actually stronger. Silver, the reason why it has this mystique and allure that has lasted through centuries is when we first started using silver, we made it with the same metal that we produced coins from. Like, the coins that you carried in your purse that you bought things from, they used that to make a teapot or a tray or a fork. So you were literally using money to eat with. It had the same value as a coin.
Huh.
And that's why it was considered so prestigious to be eating with silver. But it was so beyond the money what it actually contributed to your body and your life. And I really get that. There's something about silver that adds to my life like nothing else. I've got plenty
Also
of
adds to your health.
furniture.
Just using
Yeah.
furniture, using silver flatware. It's like it actually is like, people have taken colloidal silver, which is silver that's suspended in water, and they take it to heal themselves. Well, if you use silver spoons all the time or silver forks, you're basically doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Little flecks of it come away when you eat off of it. Not in a bad way.
Storing water in silver jugs.
I was going to say, I've got a silver jug that I put water into, and then I pour it into my filter. And my assistant at one stage, she was putting it into this a watering can, and I went, no. I said, it like this. Put the water in the silver jug first. There was something about the energy of going water into the silver jug, and then that goes into the filter, and then you drink the water. It's like,
yeah.
Oh. So let's talk about silver today, because I was reading an article the other day too that someone was saying, look, where the world is going, blah blah blah. It's like how, I guess, imperative it is to have silver to create a future. Or what's your point of view on that?
Well, it's like my personal point of view on it is that what I see happening is that we have silver is a major component of electrical stuff. Okay. Without silver, you cannot do electricity. And so they need to have silver to have electricity. They need to have copper too. Copper is one of the things that electricity is generated with. So it's like these places where we have silver and copper and stuff to generate for electricity. We also have the other element of it, which is what else do we do with it? And it's like, when you realize that it's health giving, it's like, the phrase born with a silver spoon in your mouth didn't have to do with the money you had. It had to do with your health.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah. It's like people who use silver to eat off of instead of the other stuff.
We're healthier.
We're healthier.
Not wealthier. They were healthier.
Yes. Yeah. Which is why you gave a baby a silver spoon as one of its first gifts.
Yeah.
It was a wish for it to be healthy.
Yes.
I love the stories that you guys tell. It's great.
Well, it's so interesting because when you start looking at this stuff, you start thinking, oh, this is just amazing. And you go, oh, well, that makes sense. When you begin to see the sense in what people did in the past, you begin to realize you have different choices and you should choose. And it's like I chose to do sterling flatware because it was so friggin' pretty.
Yeah. I love eating sterling flatware. Yeah, absolutely.
And
China,
my ex-wife,
I've got like a $500 Versace mug for my coffee. Yeah. It's like, I love it.
It's beautiful. And you get to have these beautiful things that you get to drink out of, eat off of, etc. And it's like, I bought I bought china that was matching a set that I got from my great aunt years ago. And I eat off of that every day. That's my everyday china. Now it doesn't go in the microwave because it has gold on it and it will spark. So I have extra other stuff that's, like from sur la table that is, for microwave. But it's like, I love eating off of good china. It's just such a gift. It looks so pretty and it tastes so nice. And everything is greater because of it. I had lunch today, some chilaquiles by Estela. Oh my God, was it good? And some beans and some eggs, and it's like, it was just fabulous. And I got to eat that off of my good china, which it's like I had crappy china when I had children at home. And it's like, and when I moved out of with my wife, she gave me the crappy china that she hated because it was all chipped because she just knocked it around all the time. And I took it and I was going to put it in the cabinet. And I went, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I'm never going to have 24 people over to my house for dinner. Okay. So it's like, this house is not big enough to hold 24 people, period. Because I was in a little apartment. And I went, okay, you know what? I'm going to put this up and I'm going to eat out of it every day. A cereal bowl costs $38 to replace. I went, okay, if it gets broken, it's $38. So what? I will replace it. And it's like I have eaten off of it ever since.
But that's the value in you as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that you don't put it in the cupboard and say, oh, you're saving it for, a special occasion. It's like you are a special occasion.
You are a special occasion. And my point of view is, if I wake up in the morning, it's a special occasion. At my age, I better think that way.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, can you talk a little bit about because you have this, I mean, Gary does as well, but I love the way you talk about like this hedonism you have with what you choose. I mean, I know that you might have another story, but I love your celery jar story. Can you tell that as well? Because I think it's so hedonistic to have that there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of what I love about antiques is digging into the history and finding out all these stories, like we were talking about the silver spoon. And for centuries, in particularly the 18th and the 19th century, celery was incredibly expensive. Like, nowadays we go to the grocery store to buy celery and it's $1 for anyway. But for centuries, if you had celery, you wanted to show off. You wanted everyone to know that you had arrived, you were rich, here's my celery. So they built these purpose-made vases so that you could put the celery on the middle of the dining table for everyone to ooh and ah about, the way we would do with a dozen roses now. And I have this wonderful early 19th century vase that's engraved in beautiful script with the word celery. What we now consider one of the most basic of vegetables possible. Common and cheap for a long period of time wasn't that. So, I mean, that's just one of the things and
you have that in your house. Like, that's what I mean.
Yes.
You go, okay, so celery is now common and cheap, but you brought it back in your house because you were just like, yay. Like we were just doing something earlier today and I said, I love in Christopher's house, he doesn't eat a lot of fruit, but he has fruit on display in these beautiful bowls because it looks good. And it's like that looking good energy.
But it's also, they contribute to me just having it there.
Yeah.
Like I just love it. Do you ever have, I know you both have seen the movie Anti-Main with Rosalind Russell from the 1950s. Love that movie. And one of the things that I love most about it is the movie goes through her life in different periods. And in each period, she's redecorated in a really fabulous, over the top, brilliant way. And it gives you this sense of her creativity and her lust for life and this hedonistic joy she had with decorating and enjoying how she lived. That's what I love about antiques, is getting to go, okay, like I'm in my office right now and I've decorated it in one particular way, but I know in a couple of years, and maybe even less, I'll tear all the wallpaper out, sell the furniture, and totally redo it in a new way, because I'll look around and go, I love this thing. Do I love it anymore? Should I sell it? Yeah, sell it. Done. Let's go. Change it.
Well, it's like I find that what I have is not so much do I want to sell it, but it's like all of a sudden it goes, okay, I need to go on to my next person.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean? I love you. It's time for me to go. What? You don't get to choose? And it goes, yes, I do.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Fine. And then it goes on to somebody else. And it's like, it's like I have these 3 chairs that I bought through the Antique Guild that, Chris kept one of them. I kept 3 of them. And they were from the 26th World's Fair?
Yes. Yeah. The World's Fair in Paris, where the Art Deco movement was born.
Yeah. And these had been winners of the Art Deco stuff in 1926. And it's like, and I loved them and I thought they were great. And I thought, well, maybe I need all 4. That's what I need. And I went, no, I don't. I went, do you guys want to leave? And it goes, yeah. I said, so I asked Grace if she wanted 4 of them. She said, well, I don't think I can use 4. Could you use 2? Yeah. So I'm sending one back to Australia for Chris so he can have 2 and Grace can have 2.
I love it.
It's
Can
so
you
funny.
also expand on, because I love this conversation about how antiques choose you, hearing the antiques, like, and that whole energy of like,
Not just antiques, it's everything.
yes.
You know, you ever had a favorite dress that just one day you couldn't stand it anymore?
I just went through my whole entire wardrobe. I just had someone yesterday come to my house and pick up everything. It made me feel better chucking stuff out because it's going to women who suffered from domestic violence, and her whole carload was just full. And it wasn't necessarily, it was some stuff that didn't fit me anymore. And then there was stuff that I just went, not mine anymore. Not mine, has to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's like things own us. We don't own them. We keep thinking we own things, but we don't own things. We may have purchased them, but that doesn't mean we own them. And it's like they own us. And it's like, and when you get that you don't own nothing, that it owns you, then you get to realize, well, it must have a life force of its own. And that's the thing I see in antiques is they have a life force of their own. You know, it's like I went out yesterday in my 1960 Buick convertible. Okay. I drove it to lunch and these people were just going, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And the owner of the restaurant came over and he said, wow, would you ever think of selling it? I said, no, I've already promised it to my grandson when he turns 18. He's 10. So 8 years from now, the boy gets it. You know, and it's like, it'll be $100,000 car then. And if he wants to sell it, I don't care. I'll give it to him because he asked for it. He says, Grandpa, can I have this car? I said, yes.
Okay, but I have to interject. I got to ask you about this here because
Yeah.
that is such a different point of view. Most people, if you gave them something, they have the point of view that you have to keep it. Whereas you with your grandson, you're going, if he sells it, I don't care. It's not mine anymore. Like recognizing that things come into our life, they have a consciousness, they own us, and then being willing for them to go and being willing for
Wherever
people
they
to
want to
do with them
be.
what they
And
want.
it's like he
It's
just
so
made
different.
he just made be the conduit to get it where it wants to be. I don't know. I don't care. But whatever it is, I'm happy for him to have it. And it's like it's so bizarre. And then of course I also have a 1977 El Camino, which is immaculate and has 56,000 miles on it. It's like driving a new car. It's bizarre because it's tight like a new car. It's, you know, it's all the things a new car is. I mean, it's like it's a 1977 car that basically was driven 4 years, maximum 4 years. It was taken out so seldom that it has 4 years worth of wear on it, and that's it.
Wow.
And it's just a great car. And it's like I'm sure that my other grandson will decide he wants it, and I'll give it to him. I don't care.
But you found, those cars found you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How it works. We found each other.
I mean, it's so weird because
Exactly.
literally I went on the internet and found the El Camino. And I went on the internet and I found the Buick. Now, I can't find anything on the internet. I go to Google and it goes, what do you want? And I tell it and it goes, we don't have that. It's like, there's no page for that. You know, I go looking for antiques on the internet. Never find fucking anything.
I think you find enough, Gary Douglas.
Yeah.
We've been around you to
Yeah.
I'm talking about that though. You know how like there's good years for wine, you know, in different regions. Is there good, like if someone is starting to look at antiques, if we're in the hopes of inspiring someone to start to look at antiques, how do they start educating themselves, or is there a good era or something like that, or somewhere that is more?
Well, you have to go out and look at things and see what you like.
Yeah.
Your personal taste begins to come in and you see things that go, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And you go, and then you ask the antique dealer, okay, so when is that from? What year is that? Where is that from? Is that, you know, a particular thing? Does it have a name? And it's like, and you begin to educate yourself. So you have to educate yourself to find out what it is you love. I love things that are beautiful, which is why I love all of you guys, you know, because you're all beautiful. you know, and it's so interesting to have these things. I find the weirdest things in the weirdest places and love them to death. It's great. Oh, Chris, if you come across a Raj period table, you know, like an end table, I can use another one of those and I'll send you a deco table instead, because my deco table is saying, no, it wants to go back to Oz, which is where I found it.
Which is so unfortunate because I have this deco period house that I'm decorating with deco things.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
had a feeling that, you know, you might want it. I went,
That's
oh my
interesting.
God. Did you put your piss mark on it when you were here?
well, sort of like those chairs that now Grace is too, and I too. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit. See, I
Um,
have this habit of buying things to sell, and then they don't want to leave my house. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Well,
done
it's
that too.
just your justification for buying it is that you're going to sell it.
Yeah.
Yes,
My
of course.
justification, whenever I'm going to sell it, my justification is this is beautiful and I need something beautiful in my life. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'm just looking at, because your house, Chris, I mean, I've seen it and it's like, it is very Art Deco, and I would describe it actually as very you, which is interesting, like you in these 10 seconds, I guess. But I would never choose Art Deco. It's like, not at the moment anyway. It's not, I appreciate it, but it feels more like you, like the way you've done it.
You're not a deco kind of girl.
No, but that's what I was going to ask. I mean, I know that you guys can't see.
Well, it's like, first of all, I'd say, you know, Chris is very Noel Coward. Okay. Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay. Noel Coward he was gay and he wrote plays in the 1930s.
Right.
And he had a brilliant friggin' mind. And he had this great sense that everything was great. And he had humor, he had all kinds of stuff, and he was brilliant, and he did entends and all kinds of things to make you think. And Chris does that same thing.
He does.
And so it's very appropriate that he would have a Noel Coward reality. You're more of a romantic.
So
That's what I was going to say. For Simone, there's if you look at her house, there's an element of Victorianism and romance that is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to
And
take
mine is just damn strange. Okay.
I think the term is eccentric.
Yes.
Eclectic, not eccentric. I'm not
Dude,
eccentric.
You have life-size taxidermy of some of the most bizarre and exotic animals I've ever seen in my life.
You mean like the rhino I have on my?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rhino, the lion skin rug, all of it.
Oh, I now have a pride. I have a female lion skin rug and a male one.
I love
Amazing.
Which I got by accident because I bought an estate. I bought the whole estate and it happened to be shoved back in a corner, and I found it after I'd agreed to buy everything else, and I went, what's that?
So I've got a question. I need to jump in here. You,
Okay.
Gary, have a capacity when you are putting together a room or decorating of making things work. And your house is seemingly disparate parts. You've got deco, you've got Italian Renaissance, you've got Victorian things, you've got Art Nouveau things.
I don't have Victorian.
There are some elements that are Victorian. I will challenge you on that.
Okay.
but you make it all cohesive and work and beautiful, and everything, there is a coherence and a harmony.
Yes, because I'm an artist.
So what do you know about that people could learn from?
I know that everything has design in it. Everything has like particular angles or curves or whatnot. And if you put things together that have the same curve, even though they're disparate times and so forth, the fact that they have the same curve makes them all work.
It's funny, I'm looking around my room and everything has a curved circular to it. Even like I have a modern desk, but it still has a curve to it. Like it has, Yeah, it doesn't have the sharp edges, which I know my ex, Brendan, who, he used to love lines, like everything was tung, 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 and I always want to put like this circular movement in it.
Yes, you like life to flow. He likes life static.
Interesting. So
Chris likes everything to blow. No, I'm kidding.
And have a sense of humor.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
else do you guys want to add here about antiques? And I guess
Well, I'd say the one thing is the value of collecting antiques is it begins to give you a sense of the wealth that you have in the world. Okay. Because when you have antiques around you, you realize they have value forever.
Yeah.
You buy an IKEA, it's like how much you're going to get for it when you sell it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Less than $20 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
You ain't going to get much because it's already guaranteed to fall apart. It's made out of, what's that stuff? Particle board, so that it isn't tough, mean, or anything else. I mean, it's like we went through a flood here, and lovely Mrs. Stella made all of her relatives come over and move our furniture upstairs. Now, by moving it upstairs, she saved our asses, because even the couches, which were downstairs, they didn't get so badly flooded that they were totally ruined. We could have had them fixed and could have had them cleaned and they would have been okay. But Dane doesn't like that. So we had to have them reupholstered. I was fine with that too. I didn't care. But I love all the stuff we have because it went through a flood and it's like, it's fine.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say antiques have gone through a lot, really. Like they have a lot of stories to tell. It's like you don't just pick it up and
I think about that all the time at my dining table. The dining table that my husband and I bought with money from our wedding was made in the 1750s.
Yeah.
How many dinners, how many glasses of wine and conversations, how many jokes have been told, how many meals
how many
have
people have had sex on that?
I thought
exactly
of that too.
exactly. Like
if it's his table, it's people have got to have had sex on it.
But there's all of that energy almost leaves an imprint on the thing, and you can lay your hands on it and talk to it.
Yeah.
And it will tell you where
it's
been.
It's like what's that stuff that you get when you touch things? It's called telekinesis.
That's moving things with your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your psychic awareness of knowing
knowing what's happened, who's been there, etc. Yeah. It's like all kinds of amazing things have been there. There's one piece that you have in Australia that belonged to one of the President Buchanan, I think it was. It was supposed to be in the Taft, and it was in the White House. And it's like, it's like it has every form of wood that is in the United States in it. And it's like, and I just, I keep thinking about it. And it's like one day I think I may have it brought back because it's not selling there. So
it might want you.
But do you know what? If you're thinking about, like, I remember we did a show I think we were in Austria, and we were doing an online, we were doing a jewelry show. And then I was doing a Facebook Live. So I was showing the stuff, etc. And then a friend of ours rang me straight away and she went, what does it mean when you do that Facebook Live and I see that ring and somebody's trying it on and I don't want them to try it on? I went, do you want to buy it? And she went, yes, I do. I went, okay. And it was like, because they leap out at you. And I noticed that too. It's like when I walk into like all of our shops, we've got Antiques and Possibilities in Peregian Beach. We've got 2 shops in Brisbane, the Antique Guild. And when you go to your house, Gary, and you've got a warehouse there as well.
Which is another shop.
Exactly. You've got GMD Antiques. I notice when I walk in, I'm like, what's that? And it's like, it might even be under something, or you can just see
that's essentially the time when it's something that wants you, because it literally is saying, hi, I'm here.
Exactly.
And it's hidden itself. It's hidden itself intentionally so nobody will notice it.
And I want to add that if you don't make it about the money and you actually acknowledge the contribution that this is being to your life, then will more money show up in your life so you can actually have these beautiful things around you? Because
Well,
you said about the
my
wealth,
personal point of view is yes,
yeah,
but I'm sure, you know, that's not been, you know, Christopher's, reality, or hasn't.
That it never works when I make it about the money, and it, it usually disappears pretty fast whenever I do.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
okay, I've got a great story actually for you about this.
Okay.
So Gary Douglas, our friend here on the Zoom with us, he had and still does this beautiful cognac diamond ring. And I said to him, I want it. And he said, no. So I said, okay, universe, find me another cognac diamond.
Bigger than Gary's, at least twice as big.
And I'm just sort of forgot about it, and was walking down the street in Brisbane. And this jeweler, I was walking by his window, and there one was in the window, naked. It was not even in a ring. It was just sitting there shimmering. This is it. This is this diamond.
Yes.
and is it bigger than Gary's?
It is bigger than Gary's.
It's twice the size of mine.
And no, but
Fucker.
what's cool is, hang on a minute. Let me finish the story, because we found you one. Then you needed one bigger than mine. But I walked into the jeweler and he said, oh, you're just in time. I was about to send that overseas to be set in a ring. And I went, I'd really like to buy it. I don't have all the money right now. Can I make a deposit and pay it off? And he said, yes, that's fine. And I said, it'll probably take me up to 6 months. And he said, no problem. I did it in 4 weeks.
Yeah. When you really want something, you manage to get money come in some weird ass way that I do not understand.
Exactly. And then Gary saw mine and he said, now I want one bigger. And we found another one.
I love you guys. Well, I was actually, remember, I mean, this was quite a while ago too. I decided that I wanted I was asking for an 8-carat diamond ring is what and I said to Chris, hey, put it out there again, like just put it out there. And that's one thing that you can do. I just went, okay, 8-carat diamond ring would be great. It would be nice. And then you found a 5.5-carat diamond ring that was on auction, and you're like, let's do it. So I was sitting at home at my kitchen bench with a glass of champagne in my hand at night while you were doing the auction. And you're going, do you want to keep going, keep going, keep going? And you're sitting there, because auction is like, you don't have can I have 5 minutes to think about it? It's like, no, it's closing. The sale is closing. Yeah. So I ended up buying it for $42,000. And it was.
But that was Aussie pesos.
Yes. And immediately afterwards, it was worth $140,000. And Chris was saying to me the other day, it would be worth way more now. And it's interesting. I put it on and I wasn't so sure I liked the design. Put it on. I was like, wow, wearing 5.5 carats on your hand, that's actually a really big size. Like, I don't know where I thought 8 carats was going to go, but 5.5 carats. And it's so beautiful. And it's such a contribution to me. And that whole energy of asking for it, having it show up and receiving it, and now it being worth even more is like, oh, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible?
And that's why doing what Gary said of going out and educating yourself is so valuable. Like, just to know that those sorts of possibilities exist. I'm starting to collect old auction catalogs, and I just received this Sotheby's catalog from the 90s of the jewelry that belonged to the Duchess of Windsor.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who the Duchess of Windsor was, it was Wallis Simpson. It was the woman that the King of England abdicated the throne for. And the pieces in here just inspire me to a whole new level, like a Harry Winston diamond ring of 34 carats.
Yeah.
Wow.
Things like that. Like,
that would be like
incredible stuff.
That you wouldn't be putting your hand up, you'd be putting your hand down.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh wow, that's so cool. And just to add to that as well, if you'd like to start educating yourself, Google, have a look at some auctions. You can actually, I went onto an auction recently that was with paintings, because Gary was actually after this painting, and it was in Australia. So we were watching it live at night, Chris and I. I'd never been onto an auction with paintings. And for the number one, I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of wealth in the world. Like some of these paintings were like
Well,
going.
it's hard to feel poor when you realize how much wealth there is out there.
And just like boom, 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 like these paintings going for over $1 million easy. And there was so many of them on there. And it created something in me, like watching this. And then there was another auction that I went on, which I, for expanding, my possibilities with business and tax wise and all that sort of stuff, I thought, oh, I'll go on and buy some jewelry to sell. And I bought $25,000 worth of stuff. And when I got it, by the time we looked at it all, it was worth well over, 80,000, 100,000 that we can actually sell it for. Of course, I've kept a couple of pieces, like I'm holding on to them just to try them out,
No, you're holding on to them until they become the correct value and find the person they want to own.
Exactly, Gary.
You're just helping them.
Yeah.
You're custodian.
I just want to test them out for a little while. Yes. But it was so thrilling and so exciting. So like, if you are listening to this and you're like, oh, it's actually impossible for me to do it. No, it's not. It's like, always Chris says, start with a silver spoon. Buy yourself.
Hey, I started with whatever I had in my pocket, which was sometimes not more than $10. I went to a boot sale, swap meet, and I saw this cup that this guy was selling, and I said, how much is that? And he goes, $8. And that's all I had was $8. And I picked it up and I put my hand across and, oh my God, it's sterling. And so I bought it. I took it to a coin dealer who was going to melt it. I said, how much will you give me for this? And he goes, $25. I said, okay.
There you go. It added to your life straight away. What about you, Christopher? What would you recommend to with people just starting to look at antiques?
Trust what you know. If it seems too good to be true, chances are
Probably.
it is. If something's telling you that that's the case, but if you're excited about it, if you would be happy to live with it, why not? What's the worst thing that happens? You end up with this thing in your house. Just go for it.
The other thing is that I do is I ask it, are you worth more than I'm paying for you? And the stuff will say yes or no. So when it says no, I don't buy it. It's like, are you as old as you appear to be? No. Yes. I had a lady who said, oh, this is 16th century Italian. I looked at it and I went, are you 16th century? He goes, no, 18th century. It was a repro of a 16th century that was done in the 18th century.
But the thing is, I see like some people might
be fucking old.
Some people might be trying to, trick you, but I think there's a whole lot of people out there who just don't know. They're not aware of it. Like with an antique, it's like,
oh yeah.
It's rare that a piece comes with all of its history of everyone who owned it, the provenance and the story. Like sometimes antique dealers, either don't know or they're taking a punt and they might not be correct.
And a whole lot of
what you know.
Tell you what it is, and ask, what do I know about this and what can I do with this?
Yeah, and choose what you know and choose what works for you. I mean, it's interesting that I don't have any Chinese stuff in my house, but I noticed that I like Chinese stuff when I go there. But there's certain chairs in Chinese antiques that only men were allowed to sit on.
Yeah,
they're always the ones that I like. So I go, oh, I must have been a man in China in some point because they're the ones that I'm always attracted to. But I don't have any of them. I don't need them in this lifetime. I have other antiques in this lifetime, but I noticed that I have this admiration for them, let's say.
Yes, I have admiration for lots of things, but I wouldn't own them and I wouldn't live with them, which is interesting.
Are we still talking about antiques? Or did we go somewhere else now?
I think it's called real relationship.
Exactly. Yes, that's a whole other topic, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is that your relationship with your antiques is a relationship. You got to be willing to have what it is and not have a point of view about it.
Yeah. And I'm going to take a photo and I'm going to ask you guys, actually, I'm going to ask Brett, who's with Gary, to take photos of a couple of things there. And Chris, some of the things that we mentioned so that we can add this to to what's here, because I'm looking at in my office in the background. I took a photo before. I have this painting that I got from the Guild, and it's this woman like laying back on this couch, and she's such a lush. Like she's probably, opium or, something like that. But I have a couch right in front of it that you could reenact what she's doing. And people walk in and they look at it because it's a bit, I don't know, it's unusual, I guess, to have that in here, but I love the lushness of it.
It's disturbing is what it is. It's a great picture. I loved it. I thought I was going to keep it for a while, and then I went, you want us to live here? No.
Maybe
in Australia? Yes. Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's just me claiming, owning, acknowledging the lush that I am.
There you go.
Yes.
How luscious you actually are. So what do you want Brett to take pictures of in my house?
I'm going to call him. So,
okay.
So is there anything else you guys want to add to this?
Yeah, make sure you give her a picture of the rhino.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything you guys want to add to this before we say goodbye?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Christopher?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So
you guys got fun. Thank you much.
You're welcome. And if you're listening to this and you download show notes, etc., you'll have all the details of where you can actually have a look at the antiques that we've been playing with and the shops that we have online and in bricks and mortar as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.